Hello and welcome to our final class of Boundaries. You have made it till the end. We wanted to treat you today to a real life story of how boundaries change someone's life. Today we have with us Kathleen.
Hello.
Kathleen and I worked together last summer through the Boundaries book, and I was able to see some really awesome and great changes in her life. And so we're not going to share everything, we're not going to share every detail. We definitely want to respect her story, all the people involved with it, but we want to share tidbits so that you're able to see how strengthening your boundaries looks like in life, because she did it for real. And so you can see for yourself that it's possible to strengthen your boundaries. So I'm going to start with a few questions, Kathleen, just so everybody can learn a little bit about you and how boundaries changed your life.
Okay.
What was your life like before you strengthened your boundaries?
Dad was like a buddy to me. Like he never really, he parented me, but through like a buddy type parenting. Had a laid back style. So I grew up, if I wanted to go out and my mom said no, I mean, I'd go anyway. It was hard. I think it was because both my parents were indecisive. My mother wanted to be the very strict parent, whereas my father was very laid back. So it was hard to know where they began and we ended, or and then we started, or that kind of thing.
And that in itself is confusing, because it's like, do I go with the very rigid boundaries or do I go with the porous
Kind of easy,
boundaries?
kind of going kind of thing. So as kids, you're like, okay, we're gonna go the easy way.
Yeah.
I took this lifestyle into my adulthood, and I had that buddy style parenting with my own children.
Yeah.
So I became like, okay, I don't have to. What's better is like I don't need boundaries. I can do what I want.
It starts off when we're just little, and then we bring it into our adulthood.
I mean, even relationships I had, relationship as a partner, I didn't really set boundaries because like you said, as a child, like it wasn't really displayed to me, so I didn't know what was like safe boundaries, what's boundaries anyway. So if we were together, I would constantly give in, always put everyone before myself. And my dreams would always go to the back burner.
So you were always the one kind of
doing what everyone else wanted.
Yeah.
Even if that's not what I agreed with, or if I didn't agree with it, or it wasn't something that I wanted to do, I didn't believe in, I would still do it just so to keep everything cool and so there would be no arguing. But I always allowed myself to always be at the bottom of the bottom of the barrel, so that everyone else could rise above me or shine. Like they are like shining stars, so they would shine, even though I knew that I could shine in that subject or in that area situation. I would push them to the top, and I would stay down.
Yeah, you would put them first at your expense, basically.
Yeah.
So in our boundaries class, we learned that there's 3 types of boundaries. We learned that there is porous, like, you're in everyone's business, you don't have boundaries, can't say no kind of thing. If you meet a stranger, it's like, blah, here's my life. And then there's the other end, which is rigid. And so it's like, nope, I'm not even going to tell you my name. Nope, you cannot know how I'm doing today. Or like, no is a very normal part of your vocabulary. And then we learned that there's healthy boundaries, like there's a nice balance of both, and that it's like you would have healthy relationships and setting limits and knowing where that person's what their responsibilities are, what one's responsibilities are. Before we started going through the boundaries book, where would you say you were at? Porous, rigid, or healthy?
I would say I had porous boundaries.
Yeah.
I was always worried about everybody else's business, what they were doing, how I could help them, even if that meant that I was at the back, or my needs weren't being met. I always concerned myself with everyone else's needs and put them before my own. And even my families, like I put everybody before myself and my family, even at some risk.
One of the things the book talks about is taking others' responsibility. It sounds like,
yes,
you were taking on the responsibility for friends, family, like you're the go-to person to probably solve the problem.
I was the problem solver.
Yeah.
So if they had problems, they would naturally come to me, whether it be financial. anything like that. I always had a hard time of saying no. So I'm just like, oh, okay, let me check, see if I have it. And then I would end up, even if it left me at a financial loss, no worries, I've got it. And so I would do it even though I would then struggle later.
You kind of took on a type of mother role.
Yeah, I took on like a motherly role with my friends. I took friends that, like I had friends that maybe they only had their dad, or they were living with their mom, but their moms weren't very motherly. So I don't know why. I would just come on as, okay, so I'll be the mother. Okay, you're not supposed to do that. Or they would want to steal something. Oh, you can't do that. We'll get in trouble. So it put me like, I felt like they needed me. So I needed to help.
And it sounds like your intention was pure, it was good, like you wanted to take care of them, but what came out was, putting everybody's needs first, but then it was at your expense, you suffered, and the people around you probably suffered too, like your family, your kids and all.
Yeah.
Why was it hard for you to set boundaries? What were the barriers?
Fears, feelings like I needed to protect others. I took my dad's role of protector, because my dad has passed. So I took the role of protector, wanted to advocate for friends who had issues, because a lot of my friends, and even my family, they all have some sort of mental challenges. Or, like their own mental hurdles. And so I thought, okay, my siblings are mentally challenged. So I felt, because I'm not, it was my place to step forward, my obligation. I had to help people like that, because they would be more taken advantage of, even though I've allowed myself to be taken advantage of.
And once again, like, it's coming from a good place, it's coming from a good and pure intention, and also you wanting to take that protective role after your father passed away, but at the same time, once again, you become this rescuer at your expense.
Exactly. Felt like I was responsible for others' issues. I felt I wasn't important enough, so I felt I wouldn't be considered kind before God even.
Wow.
And this was due to poor teaching of the Bible from my mom's perspective. So I found it even hard to be close with Christ.
That's interesting that you say that, and I'm really glad you mentioned that one, because that is a really popular reason why people might have poor boundaries, especially people who love Jesus or grew up in Christianity. A lot of them might have poor boundaries, or it might become this welcome mat to a bunch of people, because they think like, oh, God's gonna be mad at me if I don't help this person every time they ask me for help. And so like they have this like false guilt, like, I need to be doing this, if not I'm gonna get struck down with lightning.
It's exactly, like I wanted to impress my mother, but I also wanted to appease God. And so that it's like, so that I'll have a chance to go into heaven. And he's not gonna go, well, you didn't help over here, so we're not accepting you in.
And one of the amazing aha moments for Kathleen, when we were going through the Boundaries book, was like, wait a minute, this isn't what God wants. God doesn't want us to say yes to everything every time somebody else, beck and calls and stuff. And so I really loved seeing that kind of like light go off for you, and really see the scriptures.
Like you said, like, wait a minute, and I'm reading it even for myself. Like, my mom's understanding is not the understanding I'm taking from it. So I'm like, oh, well, like I missed out all this time, so I'm glad like now, for the past 4 or 5 years, I've been able to become close to God and Him me.
What was that rock bottom moment that made you question your boundaries?
I had started hanging out with friends. This friendship, I was afraid that it would become hostile, or could become there would be confrontation, and I'm someone who doesn't like confrontation, so it's like, it's either, I don't want to speak with you anymore, and the person can just walk away and take it. But normally the people I knew, if I said, well, I don't want to see you or talk to you anymore, they'd become very upset, and they'd become either angry or very emotional, so both ways would make me feel bad. So I go, okay, and then I would continue friendship. And I started to realize that I had bit off more than I could chew, so to speak. Like, it was like, okay, this person is like either high strung or it's too much. Why did I do this? But I'm always the type of person that I don't back off. Okay, no, if I just stick it out, it'll get better. But it didn't. I depended on my dad to tell friends to back off because I was scared. If I told them back off, they're gonna say why, and then I'm like, I feel that I couldn't answer them, like honestly. So I would say, okay, don't worry about it. No, I was just upset that day. I really didn't mean that. So my dad was generally the one that would say, okay, you need to go. No, Kathleen doesn't want to talk to you anymore. And the person would go away.
Set the limits.
Yes, and these people would go away, and I'd be like, okay, good, thank God, I don't have to talk to them anymore. But now I'm having to do that and do it on my own. Through this boundaries, I've been able to say, okay, you know what, like, we can't talk anymore, or I don't feel that it's safe, or I don't feel comfortable hanging out with you anymore. And I'm able to walk away and not feel so scared, so skittish, so to speak. Like I just like, oh my God, what's going to happen? My anxiety. I felt like even my anxiety has got better since working with the boundaries book, with you in the book.
And I love that because it sounds like when you were in the middle of this friendship, it was like it was out of control, or your life was a little bit out of control because of it. But then when you worked on your boundaries, it sounds like there was more control in your life, you were empowered. And also, like you said, it also reduced anxiety, and so it seems to have brought control into your life.
It did. It brought a lot of control. I mean, I realized that I had poor judgment in relationships, not only friendships. And the inner me, the inside of me was going, what are you doing, Kathleen? Like, you know this is wrong, or you know you shouldn't do this. So I took it upon myself to do these boundaries and work with you. And then I learned that, it's about time. I need to start standing up for myself.
Wow. That's amazing. And that's what comes out of the rock bottom moment is like, that decision, kind of that crossroads. Do I keep growing in this, or do I make a change? And you chose to make a change.
Well, I mean, with the boundaries book, I also found it relatable. I felt like, geez, my mother's just like that, or yeah, I remember acting like that. Or, I honestly swore that this book was written for me. So, I mean, I found that it helped. I just finally said, you know what? Going to this crossroad, I realized it's enough. Like, enough is enough. I need to stand up for me. And my children. I need to stand up for me and my children, and everybody else needs to start helping themselves. Because my helping was doing it for them, wasn't helping them. I was helping them in situations that I wasn't doing for me. Like friendships they wanted to get out of. And I could tell that person, don't talk to them anymore, they don't want to talk to you. But I couldn't do it for me. So I finally, through the book and with your help, and me willing to persevere and push through, I'm able to stand up for myself now on most of my situations.
That's amazing. And I've seen that change in you. It hasn't been easy. It hasn't been easy at all. So we're not here to sugarcoat anything. It hasn't been easy. There were a lot of tough conversations, a lot of tough moments, a lot of, testing it out, practicing it and all that. But she persevered and she pushed through a lot of these situations, not only with this friend, but she has tried boundaries in, many different areas of her life, and I've really seen her become empowered and also make wiser decisions in each of these areas of her life. What did you do to strengthen your boundaries?
I built a picket fence with some barbed wire. I don't know why I thought about it, but I just thought I wanted to build a wall that was strong. I also used the book as my my guidebook. When you're going on an adventure, you have this guidebook. This is my guidebook. It helps me get through the tough situations. And believe me, there's going to be, because you're going to try to step back. Sometimes you're going to find that person in your life that's going to be the tests your boundaries. You're going to find that. Trust me, I did. And there was nights I would cry, nights that I would, days I would get very angry about it, like, why don't they understand, why do they not respect me? But in the end, people started to back off, and they're not so pushy. I mean, and there's gonna be times that you think, well, if I just do it this once, like, I know I'm working on the boundaries, but if I just give in this once, believe me guys, don't. Because I didn't, and I'm glad I didn't, because there were times I thought of that, and I didn't.
So it took some pushing through to strengthen the boundaries. It took a good resource, you know, the book, accountability and support.
Yeah, I was able to take some ownership on my decisions. I'm not the same Kathleen. I mean, I am and I'm not. I'm the same jokey, funny Kathleen. It's just, I have boundaries this time. So I put my picket fence with the barbed wire up in front of it, and then nobody that, or anyone that is wanting to make me break my boundaries or push me can't get to me to do it.
Now, what motivates you to keep practicing your new boundaries?
I would say one of the most important reasons is my kids. I want my girls to be strong women. I don't want them to be afraid to say no or give reasons why, like not feel they have to give reasons why. So this is what I want my girls to learn. I want them to learn that they don't have to give a reason why, and they can feel okay with saying the word no.
And so last but not least, to wrap this up, I just want to ask you, what do you celebrate now?
I would say I celebrate my family, like my children. And most importantly, one of the most important things is I celebrate me. Like, I'm happy now to be me.
Yeah. Whereas before, you were last. You were the bottom
I was
of the
always
barrel.
last, so I was like, man, I don't want to be Kathleen.
Yeah.
Because Kathleen's always last.
Yeah.
But now I feel like, hey, Kathleen is I'm finally putting myself first. So, with my children as well.
Yeah.
So, I'm just celebrating happiness.
That's so beautiful. The work of boundaries is a work that just keeps going and keeps getting strengthened in our lives. Even I have to do that in my life. It doesn't matter who you are, how strong of a person you are, everybody can use work on their boundaries. And so be encouraged, don't give up, and you will see the changes in your life. You know, don't treat this as like, I'm just gonna learn about boundaries for this 6 weeks and that's it. Kathleen has been working on her boundaries and strengthening them over the last 1.5 years, and she's like, I'm not done here, I keep going and going.
I just kept working through it and just putting it, like incorporating it into my life here and there, and finally it just became a norm, and it became an everyday thing. You will be able to love yourself in the end. Like, I didn't have good self-esteem, but after the boundaries, and after reading the book and incorporating it into my life, I began to love myself again.
Thank you so much for sharing that, and I think those are beautiful and perfect words for us to end this off. We really hope that you appreciated Kathleen's story and that you will be able to practice them in your life little by little, as Kathleen was saying. It doesn't have to be complete overhaul right away. It's just not possible, and it's not realistic.
Overwhelming.
Exactly. Too overwhelming, too uncontrollable, right? And so you can do it. You've seen it in Kathleen's life, and we hope that we can get to see it in your life, and that we get to hear about these positive changes one day. So congratulations on ending this course. And thank you, Kathleen, for joining us and telling your story.
You're welcome. Congratulations.
Yay.